My name is Jason, and this is Just Watches. Today we have a very cool watch from Vario. This is the 1945 A-11S Solar Quartz. Full disclosure, Vario sent me this watch and I don't need to return it. However, they have no control over the contents of this review. Now, before we get to that review, if you're enjoying the contents of this channel, I invite you to subscribe. And if you're enjoying the contents of this individual video, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much. As of the recording of this video, this watch is available on the Vario website in 3 colorways for an MSRP of $198. However, in the middle of the product page, you will see a link to sign up for the Vario newsletter. If you do so, you will get a 15% off discount on this watch, which should bring it down to around $168. The case is 40 millimeters in diameter, 47.5 millimeters lug to lug. It's super thin at only 9.5 millimeters, and then has a 20 millimeter lug width opening. On the stock strap, it weighs in at 66 grams. Now, the 316L stainless steel case is nicely finished with circular brushing on the top of the bezel that transitions into high polish around the edge of the bezel. The top of the mid case has circular brushing and a nice high polish chamfer that widens towards the ends of the turn down lugs that terminate in a rounded angle and are also drilled to assist with strap changes. The sides of the mid case are also brushed so that the majority of the case is brushed with just enough high polish to give the case some visual interest without making it overly flashy. Also, you'll notice a 4 o'clock crown position was used. This is a simple but great case that is comfortable, and that fairly short lug to lug distance with those turned down lugs ensures it wears great on a wide variety of wrist shapes and sizes. The stock strap is made of Cordura Recore, which is made from recycled fabrics. It starts at 20 millimeters before tapering down to 16. The holes are reinforced. Now, the strap is on the stiffer side, but I think it will break in nice and feels robust. The strap features quick release spring bars for easy strap changes. The hardware is signed with Vario, and we have 1 fixed and 1 floating keeper. Now, this isn't the type of strap that's super comfortable right away, but it does feel solid, and once broken in, should last a long time. The screw-in case back helps provide 50 meters of water resistance and has information about the watch around the edge, and then an origami crane, which is a nod to Sadoko Sasaki, who folded 1,000 origami cranes, which based on Japanese folklore would grant a wish. In this case, it was a wish for recovery and peace. However, hold on to that thought and we will return to it when we talk about the handset of this watch. Now, this watch is powered by the Miyota 2170 Solar Quartz movement. This is a solar movement, meaning it is recharged with light and will run on a full charge for 4 months. It's accurate to plus or minus 20 seconds per month. And then since it uses a rechargeable battery, you should get about 8 to 10 years of life, which is one of the major upsides of a solar quartz movement. Now, I absolutely love to see Vario using a solar quartz movement and would love to see more microbands utilize this type of movement. The 5.5 millimeter push-pull crown is nicely knurled and signed with a V for Vario, which is also loomed, which is cool to see. Now, I like the 4 p.m. crown placement, which adds a bit of character. Now, since this is a no-date quartz watch, you won't have to adjust it often, but it is simple to do with this ample sized crown and lack of crown guards. The flat sapphire crystal is flush to the bezel and has anti-reflective coating applied to the underside, which definitely helps with the overall legibility. Also, I like the choice of a flat crystal here as it keeps the overall thickness of the watch under 10 millimeters. Now, the dial on this watch is textured, which confused me at first since this is a solar watch. However, after doing a bit of research on the movement, the solar cell is actually the Wristshots, which is an interesting and clever option for a solar movement. So around the edge of the dial, we have Arabic numerals for each of the 10-minute intervals, and then moving in from there, we have dashes for each of the minutes with slightly longer dashes for the hours and a red triangle at 12, which offers a rare and welcome splash of color to the watch. Moving in, we have Arabic numerals for each of the hours. The only text on the dial is actually the brand name Vario, but it's applied in black. It's a bit of an odd choice since it's barely legible, but I do like that there's no other text on the dial. Between the restrained text, lack of a date, and sharp contrast between the black textured dial and white printing, this dial is ultra legible and very aesthetically pleasing. As for the hands, we have a very nice sword style hour and minute hand, with a minute hand that extends all the way to the dashes around the edge of the dial. The hands are edged in white and filled with lume, which makes them very easy to read against this dial. Now, as we alluded to earlier, Vario did something very interesting and symbolic for the second hand. This watch is inspired by the A-11, which had a hacking second hand, which allowed soldiers to synchronize their watches to perform critical battle actions at precisely coordinated times. Vario here opted to replace the second hand with a small black disc with a white dot. You can still easily see the watch is running, and if you really focus, you could determine how many seconds into the current minute the time is, but the running seconds are strongly de-emphasized by the lack of a traditional hand. This is to reflect that this watch is not a useful tool of war, as it would be very impractical to synchronize more than one of these watches, which I thought was a thoughtful and an interesting choice, especially with the origami crane motif on the caseback. From a practical standpoint, I don't tend to like watches without seconds hand, as it's difficult to immediately tell if they are running, but the disc they opted for does allow you to quickly ascertain if the watch is running or not, but at the same time de-emphasizes reading the time more accurately than to the closest minute. It's an interesting, and if I had to guess, divisive design choice, but I think it drives home the overall idea of the watch. The lume on this watch is BGW9. The application on the hands is good, however the application on the numerals is not as strong and they do fade first. So here is the watch on my 6 3/4 inch wrists. With the lug to lug on the shorter end, it wears great, and because it's so thin and has a nice curve down in the lugs, it absolutely hugs the wrist. Pros and cons, starting with the pros. First, I love that they used a solar quartz movement in this watch. I want to see more micro brands take advantage of solar quartz movements, as they are just superior in many ways, the main one being you won't be changing a battery every 3 years. Second, I think the theming of this watch is well executed, with both the disc instead of a seconds hand and then that origami crane etched into the caseback. It pays homage to history, but puts a positive spin on this current iteration. Third, it is so nice to see sapphire crystal on this watch. At this price point, it isn't always a given, especially from bigger brands like Seiko, so it's nice to see they went with sapphire here. Last, the dial on this one is just fantastic. Everything is very clear and extremely easy to read, and that pop of red at 12 is a nice touch and really does help to orient the watch. As for cons, the main one is the strap is quite stiff. I think it will break in nicely and last a long time, but it definitely isn't one of those straps that is comfortable right away. Second, I'd like to see the lume on the numerals improved. As for comparables, not enough microbrands are using solar quartz movements. Some do exist. For example, for more, you could consider the Vario C5 Korean field. For about the same price, you could pick up the Timex Expedition field, which is a solar quartz field watch in 41mm. However, this one doesn't have a sapphire crystal. Another option would be a Citizen Echo Drive. They have a vast range of watches that use the solar quartz Echo Drive movement. Something you might consider for them is the Weekend Garrison field. So there you have it, the Vario 1945 A-11S field. What do you think of this watch? Let me know in the comment section below. As always, if you are enjoying the contents of this channel, I invite you to subscribe. And if you like the contents of this individual video, please give it a thumbs up. That's all for this time. My name is Jason, and you have been watching Just Watches.